It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when 19-year-old Rachel Monroe walked into Lawson's grocery, a folded list in her hand and a quiet song on her lips. Security footage recorded her at exactly 3:17 p.m. But here's what no one can explain. She never came out. No one saw her leave. No alarms were triggered. And for the next 25 years, not a single trace of Rachel Monroe would ever be found. Before we dive deeper into this chilling story on missing shadows, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Rachel Monroe had always been the kind of girl who left traces of joy behind. Tiny, warm echoes in the people who loved her. Her older sister, Emily Monroe, remembered Rachel's habit of tucking little handwritten notes into coat pockets, or how she'd sing lullabies to the neighborhood kids. Even as a teenager, Emily was 24 when Rachel vanished. She had just moved to Chicago for a new teaching job, and the guilt of not being there still clings to her like a second skin. Their mother, Linda Monroe, raised both girls on her own after their father walked out when Rachel was just 7. A quiet, determined woman, Linda worked double shifts as a nurse, yet somehow always found time to keep fresh flowers on the table and make their birthdays feel magical. Rachel's disappearance nearly destroyed her. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating, and eventually stopped believing in answers. And then there was Detective Mark Callahan, a 42-year-old veteran of the Cold Case Division. He'd only been a beat cop back in '98, but Rachel's file haunted him. When the department reopened the case in 2023, Mark requested it personally. Something about Rachel, about how she disappeared without a single trace, had never sat right with him. The last day, October 3rd, 1998, 3:45 p.m. It was an unseasonably warm Saturday in the quiet town of Maple Falls, Oregon. That afternoon, Rachel Monroe helped her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Dorsey, plant tulips in the front yard. She wore an oversized red flannel shirt tucked into faded jeans, her hair in a messy bun, sneakers muddy from the garden. Mrs. Dorsey remembered Rachel laughing, carefree, telling her she'd run to the corner store for gum and a soda before heading home to finish a sketch for art class. At exactly 4:03 p.m., a surveillance camera at Hal's Market captured her walking in. She wandered the candy aisle, picked out grape bubblegum, smiled at the cashier. Her total? $1.27. She paid in exact change, and at 4:11, she stepped outside. That was the last time anyone saw her. Her house was just 7 blocks away, a walk that should have taken less than 10 minutes. 2 days later, her sister Emily flew in. Posters went up. Candlelight vigils were held. Bloodhounds tracked Rachel's scent halfway through the neighborhood before it vanished near a construction site breaking ground on Oak Street. Police questioned everyone. Hal, the store owner, the cashier, local teens loitering behind the building. No one saw her leave with anyone. No cars, no screams, no struggle. Rachel Monroe simply disappeared into the warm glow of a golden afternoon. And for 25 years, her story remained just that. A story, a memory, frozen in sunlight, echoing through the lives of those who loved her, like a half-finished song. The town of Maple Falls hadn't changed much. The grocery store had a new owner, the roads had more cracks, and the kids now carried iPhones instead of Walkmans. But for Emily Monroe, the air still smelled the same, like pine needles, and the damp scent of lost time. It was a rainy Wednesday morning. Emily was in Seattle, about to walk into a classroom full of second graders. Her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize lit up the screen. "Ms. Monroe," the voice asked. "This is Officer Griggs with the Maple Falls PD. We may have found something related to your sister." Her world stopped. Griggs explained. A crew clearing out a storm-drained tunnel near Oak Street found a rusted object. A compact mirror, scratched but still intact, with Rachel's initials etched into the back. Emily's knees gave out. She sank to the hallway floor, cold tile beneath her, phone pressed to her ear. 25 years. Nothing. Not a single real lead. And now, this? By nightfall, she was on the road back to Maple Falls. Her hands trembled as they gripped the steering wheel. The mirror, could it really be hers? What else might be buried there? Beneath layers of mud. In time, Officer Griggs had more news when she arrived. The mirror's not all, he said. We found a child's sketchbook, water damaged, but some of the drawings match your sister's portfolio. We're having them tested for DNA. Emily stood in the station, staring through the glass at the evidence bags. Her chest tightened. Her throat burned with emotion. The past wasn't done with them yet. The mirror and sketchbook weren't enough for the case to be reopened officially. But for Emily, it was enough to crack her world wide open. The next morning, she found herself standing outside the store where Rachel had vanished. Dawson's General Store was long gone. In its place was a coffee shop called Maple Brews, with polished wood floors, indie music playing low, and the scent of cinnamon and regret in the air. She stared at the spot where the old security camera used to be. She walked in right through that door. She whispered to herself, fingers brushing the metal frame. And no one ever saw her come out. Instead, she met the current owner, a soft-spoken woman in her 40s named Leanne. When Emily mentioned Rachel's name, Leanne's eyes flickered. She was the girl with the sketchbook? I was only a teenager then, but yeah, I remember her. My mom used to work here before it was sold. Emily leaned forward. Do you remember anything strange from that day? Leanne hesitated. Not that exact day, but a few weeks before she disappeared, I saw her arguing with someone behind the store. A man. He had a scar along his chin. I never saw him before or after. A chill ran down Emily's spine. Scarred man. She scribbled it in her notebook. Next, she visited Mrs. Halvorson, the old librarian, now nearly 90, but sharp as ever. The woman had kept a box of clippings from unsolved local cases. I kept Rachel's folder because something never sat right with me. That camera footage? The one that supposedly malfunctioned? It didn't. I saw the tape. The clerk that day, Nate Henderson, he erased it. Why? That's your job to find out now, dear. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay in her childhood bed, the ceiling fan spinning above her, and stared at the mirror they found, now cleaned, and resting on her nightstand. For the first time in years, she whispered her sister's name into the dark. Rachel, what happened to you? Emily was beginning to see Maple Falls with different eyes. Her hometown, once quaint and predictable, now felt layered with shadows and secrets. She stood at the edge of the lake, the surface still and glassy, the same lake where Rachel used to sketch for hours. Emily remembered asking her once, "Why do you always draw water?" Rachel had smiled faintly. "Because it hides things," she said, "but it also reflects." Now, as the clouds drifted in the lake's reflection, Emily wondered, what had Rachel seen before she vanished? Back in town, Emily found Nate Henderson, once a classmate, now graying, tired, and guarded. He worked at the tire shop, quick to deflect questions. But when Emily pressed him about the erased footage, his expression cracked. "I didn't delete it for me," Nate muttered. "I did it for her. Rachel didn't want people seeing what was on that tape." Emily's heart skipped. "You saw it?" He hesitated, then nodded. She wasn't alone. That man, the one with the scar? He wasn't threatening her. They were talking, like they knew each other. Emily's breath caught. Knew each other how? "I don't know," Nate whispered, but she looked scared, like she was trying to stop something. Then, she handed him something, wrapped in fabric. That night, Emily searched the attic. Boxes, dust, forgotten memories. Inside one of Rachel's old sketchbooks, a crumpled envelope, torn pages inside. But one remained. Not a drawing. A letter. "Dear, if anything ever happens to me, it wasn't an accident. Please don't trust everyone in town. Some people wear kindness, like a mask. I'm trying to fix something I never meant to break. R." Emily stared at the paper, her pulse loud in her ears. This wasn't just a disappearance. It was a cover-up. Rain fell in cold sheets as Emily pushed open the creaking back door of the old Tisdale house, the last place Rachel had lived before she vanished. The house had sat abandoned for years. A crooked "for sale" sign hung on the gate, swallowed by ivy. Emily had convinced the current owner, a distant cousin of Rachel's, to let her look around. She hadn't expected to find much, but something about the place tugged at her. Inside, the air was stale. Water dripped steadily from the ceiling. Dust lay thick on every surface. In the corner of Rachel's old bedroom, behind a broken dresser, Emily spotted a narrow gap in the wall. Curious, she tugged at the rotted wood paneling. It shifted. Behind it was a crawlspace, and inside, a hidden room. Emily squeezed in. Her flashlight cut through the darkness. The space was small and cramped, but inside, she found an old chest covered in moldy fabric. Inside the chest, a handful of Rachel's journals, a faded scarf, rustic, and a Polaroid photo. The photo made Emily's breath catch. Smiling with the scarred man. They were in a forest clearing. She was holding what looked like a bundle wrapped in cloth. Suddenly, footsteps creaked above. Emily turned off her flashlight, heart pounding. A voice called, "Emily? It's me. You in here?" It was Mrs. Harper, Rachel's old art teacher. Emily climbed out, drenched and shaking. "You scared me," she said. "What are you doing here?" "I saw your car," Mrs. Harper replied. "I've been waiting for someone to find that room." Her voice softened. "I should have told someone years ago." Emily looked at her sharply. "Told them what?" Mrs. Harper's eyes welled with tears. "Rachel wasn't just a student. She was like a daughter to me. And the man in that photo? His name was Simon. He wasn't dangerous. He was her brother." Emily stared. She didn't have a brother. Mrs. Harper nodded. "No one knew. He was adopted out after her mother died. Rachel found him when she turned 18, and they were planning to expose something. Something ugly. But someone found out and made her disappear." Emily sat in a small, windowless room, the Polaroid photo trembling in her hand. Across from her sat Detective Willis, a man who had once dismissed Rachel's case as just another runaway. But now, even he looked shaken. "You're telling me she had a secret brother?" Emily nodded. "His name was Simon." Mrs. Harper confirmed it. Rachel found him just a few months before she vanished. And they were planning to expose something? Emily pulled out a journal wrapped in plastic. "It's all in here. Names, dates, locations." Rachel believed there was a human trafficking ring operating through Maple Falls. She suspected someone close to the town council. Her last journal entry says she had proof and was going to meet Simon at the Trestle Bridge. Detective Willis leaned back, visibly disturbed. "That bridge, that's where hikers found a bloodied scarf, a year after she disappeared." Emily nodded, slowly. "The same scarf I found in that hidden room." There was a long silence. "I want forensics on that photo and that room. If there's even a chance this is real, we need to reopen everything." As he left, Emily stayed seated, staring at the photo again. Simon's eyes weren't frightened. They were determined, protective. She flipped the photo over. In faint pencil were the words, "If something happens to me, don't trust him." But the wasn't signed by Rachel. It was Simon's handwriting. Emily couldn't sleep. The rain had stopped, but her thoughts were a storm. Simon had warned her, "Don't trust him." But who? A message. A known number. "You're digging too deep. Stop before you end up like her." Emily's fingers froze. The past wasn't buried. It was watching her. The wind howled through the broken windows as Emily stepped inside the old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. Her flashlight flickered across the decaying floorboards. The coordinates in Rachel's journal had led her here. She wasn't alone. From the shadows, a tall figure emerged. Councilman David Crenshaw. Emily's heart dropped. "It was you." David's voice was calm. Too calm. Rachel didn't understand how things worked. She thought she was saving people, But she was just a girl, playing detective. Emily stood firm. She found out about the trafficking ring. You were helping move the victims through the construction sites. You killed her. He tilted his head. She wasn't supposed to be there. Simon tried to warn her, tried to stop her. But she was stubborn. Her voice cracked. What happened to Simon? David paused. He refused to cooperate, so we silenced him too. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. You won't get away with this, she whispered. David pulled a pistol. You already told the cops. That's why you're here alone. Suddenly, headlights flashed through the cracks in the walls. Sirens howled outside. Emily smiled. You think I'd come without backup? David Crenshaw was in handcuffs, head down. Detective Willis nodded toward Emily. The scarf, the journals, that photo. It was all enough. Emily stood beside Rachel's memorial. For the first time in years, the plaque no longer felt like an open wound. I wish I could have saved her, Emily whispered. Detective Willis placed a hand on her shoulder. You did something just as important. You gave her voice back. As Emily packed up Rachel's belongings, she tucked one journal into her bag. The final entry read, If something happens to me, it means I was right. Don't be afraid to tell the truth, even if it costs everything. Emily looked at the sky, eyes wet, but determined. I won't be afraid, she whispered. Maple Falls, 6 months later. The leaves had turned golden again. The same woods that once echoed with whispers of sorrow now felt lighter, not because the past had changed, but because the truth had been set free. Emily stood beneath the old oak tree near the edge of town, the place where Rachel used to sit with her notebooks. A new memorial stood there now, not a cold plaque, but a warm wooden bench, carved with Rachel's words. Truth lives in the shadows, if you're brave enough to look. A gentle breeze stirred Emily's hair as children laughed nearby. The town had changed. Councilman Crenshaw and 3 others had been sentenced. The trafficking network was exposed. Families began to find answers. Missing girls, once forgotten, were now named and honored. Emily opened her own journal, one Rachel had gifted her in middle school. And for the first time in years, she began to write again. I used to think closure meant forgetting, but now I know it means remembering without pain. She had left her job in Seattle. Now, she ran a small community center in Maple Falls, teaching self-defense and investigative skills to young girls. One of her students approached. Mia, the daughter of one of the women Rachel had once tried to help. Ms. Emily, will you read what I wrote? Emily smiled and nodded. As Mia read aloud, Emily looked up at the sky. The sun broke gently through the clouds, painting the bench in golden light. Rachel wasn't gone. She was everywhere now. In every truth spoken, every shadow searched, every girl brave enough to ask hard questions. Thank you for not giving up. If this story gave you chills, drop a comment with your thoughts below. And if you want more real-life mysteries like this, subscribe now and check out the next video waiting for you on the screen. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.